Good morning, good day, good evenings, dear colleagues. My name is Sergey Soldatov. I'm head of Security Operations Center in Kaspersky. And today with my colleague, Konstantin Sapronov, we will present our findings based on data from MDR, incident response, compromise assessment, and SOC consulting projects in 2025. The agenda for today is pretty straightforward. At first, we analyze the scope of report. Then we move to MDR projects in particular. Then we discuss digital forensic and incident response projects. And in the end of our presentation, we touch SOC consulting projects and compromise assessment projects. And finally, provide some recommendations.
Good day. My name is Konstantin Sapronov. I am the head of Global Emergency Response Team at Kaspersky. And today I will talk with Sergey about our annual report for 2025. It's not secret to most information security specialists that there is no universal solution that protects against all modern cyber attacks. The main difficulty in creating such a tool is that a wide variety of different technical hardware and software solutions currently exist and are in use. Therefore, the measure applicable in one case will not work in other and vice versa. Thus, it is possible to effectively combat modern threats only with an integrated approach. Only the usage of different products and services at different levels allow you to achieve reliable protection of a corporate network. Kaspersky offers a wide range of different products and services that assist our customers to build multi-level effective protection, including monitoring and detection services, building of own security operations centers, incident response services, security assessments, and so on. Therefore, this year we present our view on the incident that occurred among our clients at different stages of attack. It should be noted that not all customers use the full range of products and services. And this is logical to some extent, because clients protected by MDR monitoring service are much less likely to apply to response services, since most of the attack are detected and terminated in the earlier stages.
Thank you, Konstantin, for such a good introduction, how our services connected to each other. And now let's move to MDR part, and let's begin from the scope to better understand the basis of the data that we are presenting in this session. And first, let's analyze the geography of customers. And on the slide, we provide information from incident response and MDR customers. Most of our customers are located in CIS and META regions, and the third place is for Europe. Regarding the distribution of incidents by industries, the situation is the following. We divide all incidents by two parts: high severity and medium and low severity incidents, and the distribution is provided on the slide. Most of incidents in 2025, high severity incidents, were detected in government, industrial, and IT sectors. And regarding other severity incidents, most of them were detected again in industrial, government, and financial. To better understand the scope of MDR, we need to discuss MDR telemetry processing funnel. From each monitored endpoint, we receive on average 15,000 telemetry events every day. Going through MDR processing pipeline, we received in 2025, 400,000 alerts, and almost quarter of them were automatically triaged by artificial intelligence, and we called it auto analyst, that is trained on data that was processed by SOC team. Around 300,000 alerts were processed by SOC team, and about 13% of them were, after investigation, considered as true positives and reported in form of 21,000 incidents to our customers. In MDR, only incidents that require any action from the customer side are reported. If an incident does not require any response and no recommendation can be made, such incidents are not reported. And incidents are categorized by their severity. In general, severity depends on actual or potential impact on customer infrastructure. For high-severity incidents, it's either human-driven attacks or malware with potential or actual significant impact. For medium-severity incidents, it's activity that does not connect it with direct human involvement, or impact for customer infrastructure maybe not so big. And for low-severity incidents, kind of informative activity that better to implement, but there is no actual impact on customer infrastructure. During 2025, in MDR, we detected up to 3 high-severity incidents on average every day. In 2021, we saw the highest percentage of high-severity incidents, and you can see this on the slide. But since then, the share of high-severity incidents declining steadily. The shift from high-severity incidents to medium and low can be explained by commoditization of tools. Then tools originally created for advanced attacks are then widely used and detected by automatic means. The other reason for is MDR capabilities, because attacks are detected on early stages, as Konstantin already mentioned. They are more effectively and efficiently remediated in fully automated way. If you look at distribution of incidents by industry, the picture is provided on the slide. High-severity incidents in IT in 2025 and over previous years may mean supply chain and trusted relationship exploitation preparation for the future. High and medium severity incidents in government sector reflects the tense and global geopolitical situation. The education sector holds large volumes of personal identifiable information, and in combination with usual lack of comprehensive security measures in place, they are usually under attack and potential targets for attackers. The finance sector generally appears in any list of most attacked industries due to potential financial gains, and mass media sector has high level of medium and severity incidents due to techniques like phishing with malicious payloads or malicious links, which can generally be successfully remediated before the actual impact. Now, let's look at the history of high-severity incidents by industry. We've already mentioned 2021, where we observed the biggest share of high-severity incidents, but it's also interesting what industries in particular were attacked the most in 2021. And the leaders here were IT and telecom, and in 2021, by the way, Telecom was also attacked, and it was also a popular target for attackers. The explanation here may be the same: the rising popularity of exploitation of trusted relationships, and Telecom can be a good springboard for future attack. Regarding IT, the idea behind is that they may be used for further supply chain attacks. Interesting to note that previously discussed government and finance are constantly under attack, and we can see the share of in each year. In 2025, by the way, in comparison to other sectors, IT and telecom have pretty big share of high severity attacks, which again indirectly confirms the popularity of trusted relationships and supply chain attacks. And in comparison with previous year, we see the signs of shifting from trusted relationships to supply chain, because IT are even more popular among attackers, and we can see this from 2025. Now we discussed classification by severity. Let's discuss the classification inside the high severity incidents. In MDR, we classify incidents as following at the moment of detection. If we observe human-driven attacks, human activity, we classify it as APT, human-driven activity. If we get a confirmation that this human-driven activity was legitimate, it was red teaming or security assessment exercises, we reclassify this incident as red teaming. If we observe artifacts of previous human-driven attacks without actual participation of attacker at the moment of detection, we classify it as traces of previous APT attack. If we observe only malware with huge impact, like ransomware outbreak, without active human participation at the moment of detection, we classify it as malware. If we observe vulnerability that likely be exploited from perimeter, for example, and this vulnerability is critical, we classify this high severity incident as vulnerability. Sometimes we are able to detect denial of service. Again, we classify as denial of service. Successful social engineering, like user clicked, launched attachment, download something from site and executed, and without successful automatic remediation. This is also classified as high severity incident with tag social engineering. If we observe activity from legitimate accounts without special tools used, and we got confirmation this legitimate activity is from malicious insider, we classify this incident as malicious insider. Unfortunately, we have not very big number of such confirmations. That's why usually if we don't get confirmation, we classify this incident as security policy violation. So suspicious activity from legitimate accounts with no signs of compromise. On this slide, we can see the distribution of high severity incidents, types of high severity incidents since 2020, according to MDR classification. Every year, we observe significant share of human-driven attacks, but the biggest ones were detected in 2021 and 2024. The biggest share of exploited critical vulnerabilities observed also in 2021 and 2022, and the biggest share of confirmed attacks from insiders was also seen in 2022. A lot of malware attacks with great impact were detected and reported to customers in 2022, but since then the situation kind of stabilizing. The last year, 2025, was the year of social engineering exploitation attempts, the share of such incidents was more than 15%. Also, in 2025, different types of cyber exercises were very popular, and we had to track in MDR such cyber exercises. That's why we report them in form of incidents, and they are in our statistics. Now let's get back to the year of 2025 and look at high severity incident types by industries. Telecom, government, and IT faced the highest rates of human-driven attacks, 66.7%, 65%, and 59% accordingly, due to their strategic value for critical infrastructures. Attacks on IT and telecoms confirms growth of exploitation of trusted relationships and supply chains. We discussed it many times. And here we should note that IT attacked even more intensive than telecom. Malware concentrated mostly in education, 57%, development, 55.6%, and healthcare, 42.9%, presumably due to complex IT infrastructures with a lot of legacy systems, with old vulnerabilities that, of course, might be exploited. Many exploitation of critical vulnerabilities were observed in education as well. 45% of high-severity incidents were social engineering, and we observed them mostly in government, followed by education and finance. Having in mind that social engineering is the most popular initial access method, the situation with government and finance is quite explainable. Different sorts of cyber security exercises like penetration testing, red teamings were observed in all sectors, but leaders here were telecoms, healthcare organizations, and finance. Maybe this is due to existing regulations in these sectors, and also this might be an indicator of correct assessment of risks for being proactively ready for targeted human-driven attacks. Now let's discuss techniques and tactics, and start with conversion. In our MDR, we calculate conversion and contribution for each detection logic rule. That's why we can calculate conversion for technique, which is corresponding to these detection rules. For conversion, we understand the ratio of alerts classified as true positives to the total number of alerts corresponding to particular MITRE attack technique. And contribution is the ratio of incidents where particular techniques were observed to the total number of reported incidents. Conversion is provided in the list on the slide, and the contribution in our report is provided in form of heat map. Regarding conversion, here we can see password guessing. This is pretty easily detectable technique, but still it's very popular. That's why it is in our list. The next is very popular, local accounts, because creation of local accounts is usually observed during security assessment, and we have pretty many incidents of different types of security exercises. Valid accounts also in the list because domain and local accounts are often used by attackers to bypass security solutions and gain persistence. Usually in MDR, we have no ideas from which sources these accounts were gathered, but they are used in attacks. Maybe it's data leaks, maybe it's previously compromised trusted relationships. Account manipulation. Attackers usually manipulate legitimate accounts, activate disabled accounts, or add them into local groups, domain groups, and in combination with T1098 adding local or domain group techniques, this is pretty common combination. Network service discovery. It's common adversary technique applied for further exploitation attempts and usually for lateral movement as well. Spear phishing link. Since 2023, this technique always in our list, and this is the most popular technique for initial access. Remote services, second most popular lateral movement technique, frequently used in different types of incidents in combination with already discussed valid accounts. Active scanning observed mainly from outside the network perimeter. It's a typical reconnaissance tactic for all types of external attacks. Dynamic resolution. This is a new technique for this list that we observed in 2025. And this is used as command and control mechanism, typically in advanced human-driven attacks. All sub-techniques were also observed in real incidents with good conversion. By sub-techniques, I mean domain generation algorithms, fast flux DNS, and DNS calculation. And the last but not least, exploitation of remote services. Remote code execution exploit attempts are very common in incidents, both for gaining initial access and for facilitate lateral movement. Adversary techniques. Here I provided top 1 from heatmap. What are the most popular, I should say, techniques in each tactic? And initial access, it's already discussed phishing. Execution, for execution, it's always usually it's popular technique user execution. Regarding persistence, account manipulation, they already discussed. It's a very popular technique with a good conversion. For privilege escalation, leaders here is event triggered execution. The percentage is small, not because it's not popular, but because we have a vast majority of different privilege escalation techniques, and all of them are used pretty often, and that's why for this particular the percentage is not so big as others. Valid accounts already discussed for defense evasion. Post credentials dumping for credential access. Network service discovery for discovery. For lateral movement, remote services are very often used. Collection exfiltrations, not very often tactics in MDR, because most of incidents detected earlier than collection exfiltration, and in general, collection exfiltration is very difficult to detect because usually no malicious tools are used and the activity looks like legitimate one. But this is an explanation for such a low percentage. But input capture, usual technique for collection, and exfiltration, it's pretty obvious, exfiltration over C2 channel. For command and control, dynamic resolution, we already discussed. Data manipulation. Develop capabilities technique is the most popular for resource development tactic, and active scanning is the most popular for reconnaissance. And now I pass the word to my colleague Konstantin, and Konstantin share his insights from incident response projects.
Thank you, Sergey. Let's continue with our view of incidents what we investigated, and of course only a small percentages of incidents reach investigations, and most of them require investigation from users whose attack was detected at the later stage with significant damage. In 2025 year, the main damage from attack remained data encrypted for impact. As can be seen from this data, not all results have a destructive effect at the time of detection. Some of them, such as persistence installed for future impact, could be interpreted as attackers didn't reach a final goal yet, and with future development of attack, the damage may be more significant. To some extent, we can assess the maturity of cybersecurity in organization by this indicator. For example, there are those organizations that detect an incident and begin to respond before significant damage. And there are those that learn about the incident when attackers have already reached the final goal. According to this classification, we have broken down all the organizations that contacted us for investigation as follows. We have group 1, when attacker already has obvious significant damage. For example, data was already encrypted, money or data were stolen, and so on. This group could be characterized by follow: lack of protective solution, lack of monitoring, missed notification from security solutions, lack of patch management policies. And another group, group 2, when attacks were detected on stage where attackers did not reach the final goal yet. For this group, detection at the earlier stage of attack, the investigation began immediately after attackers were discovered, and investigation of minor events allow you to uncover complex targeted attack. In this group, damage is less, and usually it's minor damage, and for sure some incident could be a false positive. As I said, some of these investigations showed that the requests were made for false alarms, and the main source of false requests were alerts coming from security utilities, as well as suspicious event on workstation and servers, and suspicious event in network traffic. Let's now take a look at the reason why organization request incident response service and start investigation their cases. And here suspicious event from various sources also will be the main part. In total, about 2/3 of these are suspicious events too. Carried out an investigation confirmed that it were real incidents. Another third of reason of request the investigation service were attacks by ransomware. Now let's see the most prevalent ways how adversaries penetrated organization in last year. Here we see continuation of the trends of previous year again. Most often, organizations were attacked through vulnerabilities in public-facing application, previously compromised valid accounts, and through earlier hacked organizations with which our clients had trusted relationships. Now we will consider a few examples of attacks using valid accounts as initial vector to demonstrate how it is worked in practice. In this incident, which we response in Brazil, we spotted the use of valid accounts for initial access in SMTP server. After that, attackers were able to dump password hashes using mimikatz and perform pass the hash attack by using invoke the hash suite. In this attack, they also use some vulnerabilities drivers to disable AV solution, and after that, run Medusa Locker. And let's see one more case when attacker use valid account. In this case, it's also a ransomware case, and in order to install Black Knives ransomware, attacker breached entire virtual environment. To gain complete control and enable several tools for persistence, the attacker first located a server in virtual infrastructure that was vulnerable. Following their strategy of making a greater impact, the attacker continued to examine the infrastructure after deploying a Windows version of the ransomware into the infected systems. To enhance the assault, the attacker scanned entire segment and discovered a virtual PRTG system. Regretfully, the organization gave the virtualized PRTG system full access and privileges, enabling it to monitor both virtual and physical systems, so that an attacker could move between virtual and physical environments, and ultimately compromise all virtual systems after gaining access to the EXXI system in corporate infrastructure. But as you remember from previous slides, most prevalent initial vector in last year was public-facing application. And the reason for this is that many organizations do not always install information security updates in timely manner. If we take a look at the list of exploitable vulnerabilities that we discovered during the investigation of incident in 2025, we can note that the vast majority of these vulnerabilities were discovered in previous years. Updates with patches were released for all of them, and if these updates were installed in a time manner, this incident could have been avoided. As in previous years, most of vulnerabilities related to Microsoft products. Microsoft Windows operating system, Microsoft Exchange, Active Directory, SharePoint, and so on. What else should be noted here is that 15% of all these vulnerabilities lead to remote code execution, and some of them are without authentication. This significantly increases the risk. Another trend in exploitable vulnerabilities is their usage for escalate privileges, as well as the stage of lateral movement in the development of an attack. Let's take a look at another example that could demonstrate this approach. In this case, the attacker abused mpdefender.exe file from legitimate Microsoft Defender executable, and Calibre file, which is ebook management application. Both of application was used to side load malicious DLLs as a part of a ransomware attack targeted to SAP NetWeaver application with some vulnerabilities discovered in last year. Unfortunately, the ransomware functions as a data destroyer instead of normal ransomware, making full data recovery impossible in this case. And I want to mention in this year, such approach for ransomware attack is also trend. Many of attacks with ransomware now has goal just to destroy data. In this case, destructive data encrypted behaviors in this case like this. Files smaller than 6 kilobytes are fully encrypted with RSA key. Without attacker's private key, recovery is impossible. Files are up to 5 megabytes encrypted in 2 segments. First, before 6 kilobytes will be also encrypted with RSA key, and remainder part will be encrypted with AES key in streaming mode. While the AES encrypted portion may be particularly recoverable, the RSA encrypted header cannot be decrypted, rendering restored files unusable by their associated applications, and file bigger than 5 megabytes truncated and overwritten. Only the first 5 megabytes is remained and encrypted using a simple XOR algorithm. All data beyond this point is permanently destroyed. For example, for file with in 1 gigabyte would lose approximately 995 megabytes of data irreversibly. Even the threat actor cannot recover it. And as mentioned in this case, attacker use MS Defender to load legitimate binary DLL file, which will provide function of wiper data, and Caliber application was used as a loader for backdoor. As you have already noticed, in all the incident we have reviewed, the attacker used various legitimate tools. This is a widespread technique which we have repeatedly described in previous reports, among others. Attackers make extensive use different tools at all stages of the attack. Many groups have their own set of tools, but sometimes they can adapt to circumstances and use the tools that are at hand. It is worth notice here that the longer the attacker are in the network, the longer the attack lasts, the wider the range of tools will be used. In fast attacks, when the attacker have the main goal of causing maximum destructive damage and do not want to remain stealthy, they could use any tools and techniques, and they don't care about their activity will be noisy. In attacks where the goal is to steal confidential data, their task of staying in network as long as possible. The attacker will try to use tools that are commonly used in the victim's network by the normal users to avoid detection and to hide their presence in the network. In such cases, AV solution will not possible to detect attack. From other side, it will be very hard to distinguish attacker's activity from normal user activities. All attacks can be divided in 3 time categories: rapid, average, and long-lasting. Depending on the duration of the attack, their response and investigation require different amount of resources and time. About half of all investigated attacks were rapid ones. Average duration of such attack is less than 1 day. Usually it is a ransomware attack in not very big corporate network, when attackers no need to do long time reconnaissance inside of the network. They could identify all critical resources very fast and run crypto against it. In such attack, to find initial vector is not hard task, and usually we can do investigation average in 20 hours. For more long-time attacks, when attackers have been in the network weeks or months, we need more resources. For more long-time attack, when attackers have been in the network weeks or months, we need more resources and time for full investigation. As in such attack, attackers could compromise many systems in the network, created different backup channels, and so on. In some heavy cases, we could spend more than 100 hours.
Thank you, Konstantin, for such detailed introduction of findings in 2025 from incident response and digital forensics projects. And now we reached the final part of our presentation. There we very quickly discuss SOC consulting and compromise assessment projects. And we start with SOC consulting, as usually, to better understand the data that we presented. We need to understand the scope. Most of our customers located in META and Europe. And regarding industries, it's a pretty balanced situation. We have government agencies, finance organization, industrial, mass media, so telecoms. Almost all industries are presented. That's why we are providing kind of comprehensive view. On the slide, we can see the distribution of SOC consulting projects in 2025. These projects mostly frequently provided were SOC technical assessment, 23% of all projects, SOC framework development, where we build SOC from ground, 20% of all projects, and SOC maturity assessment and SIEM quality assurance, both for 12% of all projects in 2025. I should note that despite the difference between these approaches, both technical assessment and attack emulation methodologies allow us to identify different sort of weaknesses in any stage of SOC detection pipeline. And here on the slide, I provide just one of finding that you can read from our report. There you can find a little bit more information, but here we discuss the rule coverage and event source dependency. And having in mind the practice that telemetry should be collected with the defined purpose, in SOC consulting projects, we assess how effectively and efficiently the ingested data is covered by existing detection logic. And the resulting diagram is provided on the slide. So we can see that at best, most security operations centers are able to leverage only around half of data available for them for threat detection. So they collect much more data than actually use. Sources that usually not covered in most cases are network telemetry, logs from databases, and web servers logs. Now let's begin and discussion of compromise assessment. Very briefly again, we have already discussed MDR and the incident response, and to understand where is compromise assessment and the schema is provided on the slide. MDR is operational service, and it mainly requires Kaspersky products. If we do not have any Kaspersky product installed, so actually incident response and compromise assessment are not dependent on whether Kaspersky products installed or not, but very important difference. We call Konstantin teams, then there are signs of actual compromise. So here it is, we observe any artifacts that actual compromission happened. And in case of compromise assessment, this is not mandatory. I should say we can start compromise assessment if no indicators of compromise available. That's why this is very similar to MDR, but it's project in organization. It is similar to incident response. So our compromise assessment project mainly located in META, CIS, and APAC regions. And regarding industries, again, pretty balanced picture, but most of customers are from government, finance, telecoms, and education. This is data from 2025. And here on the slide, I decided to provide information on efficiency of detection logic rules that we use in compromise assessment. So the situation with compromise assessment very similar to MDR. We collect data with our proprietary tools and analyze with automated means, and then validate the situation with help of team. And here we can see the most frequent, the frequency of used rules. As we mentioned, we are able to provide compromise assessment project regardless whether Kaspersky products are installed or not. If they are, we reuse MDR technology tool stack. If not, a specialized proprietary utility is used for data collection. Compromise assessment projects also includes additional data sources like digital footprint intelligence data that we can find maybe in darknet, maybe in open source regarding customer infrastructure. The analysis of Active Directory configuration, and in some cases we use logs from network perimeter and VPN logs. The efficiency of detection logic families is provided on the slide. The most usual detects that cause incident in compromise assessment is detects on credential dumps, detects on leaks, detects related to observing of remote management tools or special living of the land tools usages, and of course malware and web shells. This is the most usual detections from which we start further investigation. It's kind of flags from which we begin further investigation. That's it from official part of our presentation. And now I pass the word to Konstantin to wrap up our presentation and provide some recommendations to our customers.
Thank you, Sergey. Let's see what kind of recommendation we can give you according to what we already said today. After all spoken above, we want to give you some simple but effective recommendation. We will use unified kill chain process for visualization. Here we can depict whole attack in the three part of as a in, throw, and out, and we mapped it in our terminology today as initial vector, tools used adversaries during lateral movement stage of attack, and resulting damage. These three categories we discussed today before in our presentation. So, to manage the risk to be attacked through main prevalent initial vector, we recommend implement a robust password policy and multi-factor authentication, remove management ports from public access, adapt security development practice to avoid insecure code in production environment, establish a zero-tolerance policy for patch management or compensate measures for public-facing applications. Ensure that employees maintain a high level of security awareness. In case attacker managed to penetrate the network, you need to determine there as soon as possible to avoid or minimize the damage from attacks. From this task, we can recommend implement rules for detection of pervasive tools used by adversaries, conduct frequent regular compromise assessment activities, employ a security tools stack with EDR like telemetry, constantly test reaction times of security operation with offensive exercises, prohibit the use of any software being used within the corporate network that's listed as being used by adversaries. But we also have to be prepared for the worst case scenario when the adversaries were able to inflict damage. We must have ways to properly and effectively respond and fast and safe recover data. So for this task, we need to implement backup data solutions, work with incident response retainer partners to address incident with fast SLAs, implement strict security programs for application with PAI, implement security access control over important data with DLP, provide ongoing training for your incident response team to ensure they maintain their expertise and stay up to speed with changing threat landscapes. That's it for today. Thank you for attention, and we will ready and glad to answer your questions.
The question is, what might be the cause for high severity incidents in IT sector over the years? I didn't get it clearly. And the answer here maybe is the following, that starting from several last years, and this trend is continuing in 2025, we have been observing the rise of usage of trusted relationships as a form of initial access in human-driven attacks. This trend is confirmed by incident response practice, and in MDR we observe the same story. But starting from 2025, we have been observing a trend of switching from trusted relationship to more supply chain attacks, and we can see the pattern of the switching in the news, because we all remember this early this year Notepad++ story, when the mechanism of updating Notepad++ was compromised, and users were compromised as well. The other story, again from the beginning this year, the ISCAN compromission. Again, it's supply chain attack. And maybe this is the kind of explanation why we observe so many attacks on IT. Maybe it's the proof that attackers try to reuse supply chain attacks for further compromises through compromission of IT companies. Hope I was answered the question. The next question is, did you see an increase in incidents aligned with the 2026 war in Middle East? It's a very difficult question, but the answer from my side will be the following, and the conclusions you can make by yourself. The number one is that cyber-friendly landscape does reflect a geopolitical situation, and any kind of tensions at first observed in cyberspace. In my presentation, I have a slide. The name of the slide is High Severity Incidents over Previous Years. And we observe the rise of human-driven attacks in 2021. According to MDR statistics, the share of high-severity incidents in 2021 related to human-driven attacks was more than 40%. In 2022-2023, we observe the share of this incident much lower. I mean, human-driven attacks. And the next rise of share of human-driven attacks inside high-severity incidents was observed in 2024. Maybe this might be an indicator that something is going to happen in physical world. The next question. What percentage of the patch-related incidents relates to Windows 10 versus Windows 11? In MDR, we don't have such statistics. Kostya, maybe in incident response?
Unfortunately, we also didn't get this statistic, but from my point of view, the question is slightly not maybe, as I understand it, not correct, because in incident we had sometimes many systems with different operation systems, and in incident there are many systems with Windows 11, 10, even XP, for example, all systems, Linux and so on. And we can't say the main reason of incident or initial vector or something like this was just some usage of some operation systems. So we can't say, for example, this case related to Windows 8, this related to Windows 10 or 11, and so on.
Okay, thank you, Konstantin. And our next question, do you see an increase in AI-related threats? I start the answer from the MDR point of view. Actually, in MDR, we don't care either the phishing email was generated by AI or by human. So we are not providing such research. But because of the situation that we do observe much more phishing campaigns with different content, and they are pretty efficient. And again, if we go back to the statistics from MDR and observe high severity incidents related to social engineering, we will find an increase in such incidents in comparison to the previous years. And my answer will be that maybe we do have such increase, but I don't know for sure, because we from MDR we don't provide such research. What is the reason for generation of such content? Maybe Konstantin, from incident response point of view, can you add something?
Yes, I can add just almost the same as you said. when we can see some activity of attackers, we don't have any information or ideas what was behind. So maybe, of course, they use some AI technology to generate some payloads or some malware, or uh, somehow implemented new technologies. But I'm sure they will use it more and more in the future, as well as we also use it.
Please look through our reports and contact your local Kaspersky offices with your questions. We will answer all your questions with pleasure. Thank you for attending the meeting. Again, we do present in social networks, and you can ask your questions in that social networks. And if I find find your questions, I will do answer them. Thank you very much for being with us, Konstantin.
Thank you for attention. I hope you like our webinar, and as Sergey said, please take a look our report, and if you have any question, we will be ready to answer.